Are we live? Yes, I think we are. Right. What's going on, people? Ben here from Bateman Talks Tottenham, back with our first live stream on my brand new channel, where today we're welcomed by the one and only Harry Scarf. How are you doing, my friend?
Very good, thank you. It's great to be here for what is your first show. Yes, I'm very grateful for that. Very happy to be here. And of course, a great result.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great start to pre-season. And what were your first initial thoughts on the game?
I was a bit worried, to be honest with you, after that first half,
Got a bit
especially
temperamental.
especially going 1-0 down. But to the end of the day, we've got the result down. We won the game. First of many, hopefully, under Postecoglou.
It's a bit temperamental Wi-Fi there, Harry. But yeah, it was a good result in the end. Obviously, like you said, the first half, it wasn't great, but there were some great glimpses from some people. Particularly, I thought Maddison was a great in that first half. Also, the likes of Kulusevski did a lot, didn't create much, but he looked lively. Bissouma was great. Sarr was good. And what did you think about Maddison in particular? Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, I thought
Right.
Maddison's really, really good. Really happy with the signing. I think he made a big difference. And yeah, really excited about him next season.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I thought the amount of chances and sort of moments we had in that first half all were coming through him and Bissouma. And it was brilliant to see, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great to see. So much
the
creativity all
Leicester
of a sudden.
Maddison. I know, yeah. It was that Leicester Maddison we've seen from him in the past, wasn't it?
100%. Yeah, it's great to see the player we signed. Definitely, they're worth every single penny. I think it's an absolute bargain. There's a real player there. It's clear to see. So I'm really excited to see him in action next season.
No, yeah, definitely. What did you think of that early penalty appeal we had? To me, it looked like Kulu was taken out. I thought.
I thought as well. I thought it was a penalty. It's interesting you mentioned Kulusevski because I thought he looked good. He looked a little bit back to himself. However, I think he needs to work on that end product. Because we can't waste that many. It's okay to do it now in a friendly, but we can't be doing that like when it comes to London derbies or the bigger games where we're going to have to take our chances if the Ange system works, because we will get lots of chances, but if you're going to waste the majority of them, the result won't go our way. So it's okay in this situation because the opposition we're playing, obviously it being a friendly. But for me, that was a clear penalty. But once again, referee's not on Tottenham Hotspur's side.
Yeah. No. There were some very questionable decisions throughout the game, I think it's safe to say.
Oh, yes.
But we'll move on to the first goal. Can't believe we even conceded a goal to them. But credit to them. I thought it was quite poor from Porro at the back post. He really let their player get goal side of him, didn't he?
Yeah, listen, it's a really, really easy goal. I mean, me or you could have put that move together, but fair enough. It was a good move, resulting in a goal. But really, it's a couple of passes, simple ball in the box, and a tap into the goal. Vicario didn't really make himself big. Porro let himself down at the back post. Some criticised Davis as well. So it was just really, really disjointed. I'm continuing to make it clear that we will concede goals for fun next season if we don't improve this defence, because the way Ange plays will not work unless he has that solid foundation in defence. And like Davis isn't used to playing centre back, you could see that there was no link between him and Romero. There was no kind of connection between the back four altogether. Like you've got top defensive teams last season, like the Newcastles and even the Arsenal, where the back four is all joint, all high line. When you're going to play the high line, it needs to work, but they're not all in sync, and that's the problem. So that defence definitely needs addressing. I think it was just a clear reminder of that. Same against the West Ham game. The 3 goals they scored, none of them were spectacular, but it was just overall poor defending and very, very easy. So we need to work on that. Needs addressing.
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I thought it was particularly evident the pass Davis made in the build-up to that goal. That sort of play really can't happen if Ange's system wants to work. And I think that was a massive testament to the fact we just need defenders. I feel like a broken record saying it. We've been saying it for absolutely ages, saying we need Van de Ven, we need Tapsoba, whoever it is, we just need centre-backs. I mean, it feels like it's never going to happen. It feels like it's never going to happen at this rate.
Yeah, I hope it does. So we need it to happen.
Yes, definitely. What did you think of Udogie? I thought he looked pretty bright. I thought he linked up with Maddison and Son pretty well, to be fair, in that half. What did you think?
Yeah, I think he was excellent. I hope we can see a lot of him next
Yeah,
season.
yeah,
He's been questioning Postecoglou. He's been questioning about both Porro and Udogie, whether they can,
yeah,
be in that back four because of their defensive duties. Watching Udogie last season for Udinese, I thought he was spectacular, both offensively,
yeah,
especially, but also defensively, as there's a lot of pace. Obviously,
yeah,
young player as well. He brings a lot to his game. At the end of the day, he scores goals, gets involved, is creative. Um, in a way, this may sound strange, but it's almost like the younger version of Perisic. It's almost like you've got the
yeah,
creativity. We've
yeah,
got a player in Udogie who every time you watch him play feels like he's got bags of experience and been here many times before at such a young age,
yeah,
which is great to see. He has confidence running through him, taking on players. He's not afraid to have a go, like I said, from distance, not afraid to whip one in the box. And I think
mm,
forgetting the defensive side of it, going forward, Porro and Udogie, that they could cause a lot of teams problems next season. So that's why I continue
yeah,
to say, with
yeah,
or without Kane, I think this team scores goals.
mm,
It's just defensively that's the problem.
yeah. I think, yeah, I agree with you that. I think with what they call Porro and Udogie, we're going to score many goals. It's just a problem of how many we let in the other end. That's definitely
Yeah,
something that
exactly.
we're going to have to look out for. But also, I thought Sarr was quite good in the first half. I thought, particularly that chested volley he hit right at the end of the half, that was quite impressive. And
It,
but
it
his
was.
general play was quite good.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought, yeah,
Every time Sar's called upon, he always seems to step up, whether
yeah,
it's North London Derby, whether it's Milan, whether it's today. Obviously, we've got a player for the future, but I think it's really, really exciting because we talk about the future. And we've got these players like Udogie, Sar, even the likes of Skip to turn to, which is quite exciting, especially the likes of Sar. I'm a big fan
yeah,
personally. I love his confidence at such a young age. Like he said to the likes of Højbjerg and Skip in the North London Derby, who are obviously much more experienced, especially Højbjerg and him, and just took
mm,
control of the whole situation.
yeah,
Mind out the way, Harry Kane. I've got control of this. I love the confidence and
yeah,
Milan. I thought
yeah,
he was excellent against Milan. The whole team went missing in that first leg, and it obviously could have been more, as you know, Ben. But
yeah.
Sar was just excellent, full of confidence.
No,
Nothing phased him, and I think there's a real player in there, and I think he could be
yeah,
important squad player. Let's say next season off the bench in cup competition, and eventually, definitely, he's a star whether it's at Tottenham or not, and then we'll be getting lots of minutes. It's really a player to look forward to. But all of a sudden, we've gone from a midfield of just Højbjerg and Skip to a lot more to look forward to.
no, yeah, definitely. Obviously, we've not seen Ndombele yet in this pre-season
No,
either. But one thing I wanted to touch up on, and we'll talk more about his interview with Ali Gold later. Obviously, Sonny had his first minutes today in pre-season. I thought he had some good moments, also some not good moments. But for a first game in such a long time, I think he did himself okay. What do you think?
he did, yeah. He's a player who's got a lot to prove, obviously, next season. He knows it himself. He said it. Because
Yeah,
obviously the standards of winning the Golden Boot to them falling away massively last season because of the injury problems you
yeah,
suspect, and maybe the system that he was playing in.
yeah,
He admits, like coming out and saying that he has no blame on Conte. I take responsibility. I let him down. I let the team
yeah,
down. He knows it himself, which is obviously great to see because you hate it when you get managers and players who you can't accept that. We had that with Conte. He'd make a mistake tactically or with the setup, and he couldn't admit it. It'd be every single way around it possible. So I'm glad that Son just came out and said it. I was part of the problem last season. I didn't perform, which we all know was true. So hopefully we can see next season the Sonny that we love, smiling, scoring goals for fun, creating goals. Because if Harry is to leave, then Sonny's going to have to step up right now. But he's his first game for a long while. Like
yeah.
you said, I think hopefully consistency will come over time. We know there's a player there. Even at his age, he's still got it. So hopefully next season could be his season and get back to his best.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. Right. Well, we'll move on to the second half where obviously there were 11 changes made like the other day.
Yeah.
What did you think? I thought people like Richarlison were great. Obviously, the hat trick. I know in a minute you're going to go on a great rant about why
Oh
Richarlison
yes.
is our striker this season. Not going to say I agree with that, but I know you're one of his biggest defenders. Off Lo Celso was good as well. Emerson was quite good in midfield. I thought generally everyone, Perisic as well. Perisic was very good. But sort of generally, what did you think?
I was really, really impressed. And I don't want to get carried away or overexcited here because there's so many times that I've gone, oh, it looks like we've got a better second team and we get knocked out. FA Cup playing a slightly weaker team against the like of Middlesbrough or Sheffield United. So we don't get carried away. But that what was, you reckon, the second team next season, most of the players that be on the bench, it looked very, very good. You know how much of a fan I am of Richarlison, how I think that is him. It is an unpopular opinion, him being the number 9. I think personally that he can do it. I think he proved that today, regardless of the opposition. He scored a hat-trick, and I think he can step up next season. I think he's a player who will suit Ange's system perfectly and will score between 15 and 20 goals. Lo Celso, like you said, I'm not his biggest fan, but I thought it was magical once again today. He controlled the park. And Perisic looked like a man who had something to prove. So overall, really, really impressive. That's what you want. You want these players putting pressure on the people in the first team to get into the team. And it's a lot better because we need our second team to be strong. Solomon as well, I thought was very, very good. So really positive signs, especially for Richarlison.
Harry, you're quite laggy at the moment, but I think everyone can get the gist to what he was saying, is that Harry thinks Richarlison can be our star striker for this season. Obviously, I'm more than happy to give him a chance. Do I think he's going to be after what we saw last season? Not convinced, but I'm more than happy to be proved wrong. Some of the moments he showed today, great composure on some of the goals he did score. So that's definitely an encouraging sign for this season. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Have we got some comments in? Yes, we have from Barney. Oh, I get it to come up. Nice to see you, Barney. Great to see you watching the channel. Got a decent squad already. It's just some real talent there. No, yeah, definitely. We have got a very talented squad. It's just if we can unlock the talent of it and maximise it to our potential with people like centre-backs coming in. Hello, Harry.
Can you hear me all right?
Are you all right there? Can we hear you better?
Any luck?
Is he there?
No?
Not very well, to be honest, Harry. Right, we'll move on. But no, you're not. You're still quite... Wait, try to talk now, Harry. You're quite laggy still. Sorry, people. Obviously, Harry can't control his Wi-Fi.
Is it better?
But yeah, a little bit. Yeah, there you are, I think. Right.
Okay.
Give all that monologue about Richarlison again.
I don't know how much people heard about it. But...
Richie monologue.
Yeah. What I was trying to say is
we heard you said he thought he was good.
Yeah, I thought he was... Oh, great to hear, Barney. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, I thought he's really good. I think he's a player that can step up next season and will suit Ange's way of playing, if you like, perfectly. I think he proved today, regardless of the opposition scoring a hat-trick, I think he scores 15, 20 goals. I think that, this season or next season, whatever you want to call it, is his season. And if Harry's going to go, I believe he will step up. He's shaking your head already. Lots of people disagree. I just don't think you spend 60 million on a striker to sit on your bench. I think he's more than capable of it. If you score him 10, 15 goals in an Everton side battling for survival, I think he can do more than that for Tottenham Hotspur when he gets more minutes. So for me, I don't see why you would spend the money on a replacement when you've got a £60 million striker on your bench who scores you 10, 15 goals. I thought it was really, really good today. Positive signs for the likes of Lo Celso. Solomon, Perisic had a point to prove. He showed that, which is great to see. But I don't want to get carried away about the second team because Sheffield United, where we play the second team, we can't get over the line. But hopefully this is positive signs because when I talk about rebuild, I can't stress how important it is in a rebuild. I think it is as important to bring in players in as also players going out the door. Hopefully, we're starting to see that, and we will start to see that over the next couple of weeks with the likes of Sanchez, maybe the likes of Dyer as well. Who knows? But I think Sanchez will be the first one next, following Winks. And also, I can't stress how important it is to have that squad depth and that second team to turn to when the first team's played. Christmas, he played 3 games in about 7 or 8 days, and you've got to turn to some of the players in the second team. So hopefully this is positive signs. But as for Richarlison, I think he's ready. Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. I see that argument with Richarlison getting that many goals in that Everton team. I do see your argument there. I'm just not convinced of what we saw last season. Wrong, 100%. I'd love to be proved wrong and him to be. I can see him getting 15, 20 goals,
I would love
but
that.
how many of them are onside how many of them are onside is another debate. I'll be honest. That's definitely something to
Yeah.
discuss another day. But moving on to someone who really impressed, I thought, today and the other day, being now our joint. No, he was our joint top scorer in this season until Richie got that one at the end. But Lo Celso, 2 goals for him now in pre-season. Do you think he could stick around?
I don't know if you heard it before I went off, but I'm not a massive fan of Lo Celso. However, what we've seen in pre-season, I've been very, very convinced. Like you said, he was the joint top scorer until my man Richarlison comes along and breaks that. But no, Lo Celso was excellent, controlling the midfield, creative, everything we want. Out of him or Ndombele, who would I keep before pre-season? I would have said Ndombele because I think he overall has that more ability.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because the club took the time to put a lot of videos up, I don't know deliberately or not, but of Tanguy and Ndombele. We saw a lot of positive clips, positive signs. For him not to feature at all in pre-season is surprising when Lo Celso didn't feature at all, hardly, in those pre-season videos. A bit of mind playing there, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Lo Celso looks like a man who's ready to play. And at the end of the day, we've got Bentancur out, which is probably going to be November, December, maybe even longer with our medical team going into the early next year. So we're going to need someone to fill that gap. And Lo Celso looks ready. I think he's proved a point. I think he deserves already to start the first game from what we've seen. I just hope he keeps it up. Although I've never liked Lo Celso, I've never questioned his ability. I've just always questioned whether he suits the certain Spurs system over the years, or whether he's right for the Premier League. But again, you'd love to be proved wrong about Richarlison. I'd love to be proved wrong at Lo Celso because I sat here 3 or 4 years ago, or less than that, under Mourinho, going that Lo Celso, I can't see him. I said loads. You can't see him winning in the Spurs shirt. I can't see him playing regularly in the first team. I can't see him scoring or being involved regularly. I can't see him be part of the future. I'd love to be proved wrong. 2-3 years later now, because he had excellent games. I remember against the likes of Norwich under Mourinho, and I just wasn't convinced. I remember we beat Norwich, I think 2-1, Premier League game. Lo Celso scored and got an assist. And I remember sitting on the coach on the way back, everyone's talking about Lo Celso, and I'm going, I didn't really see what he'd done extra special. So I've never been able to see what other fans have seen at times, but love to be proved wrong. But he's had a great start to pre-season, so I'm all for it.
I do think there is a player in there. I really do think. I've never really got the suggestions that he's not fit for the Premier League, because when we had him under Mourinho and he was playing a bit deeper in a couple of games, he was quite a tackler who wasn't afraid to get stuck in. But I think he's been a victim of not really working in the system the past couple of years. I think potentially, obviously, he was bought for Poch, wasn't he? So it's difficult when we had very different managers in the past couple of years. But if he, obviously, is he playing for a move, or does he really want to stay at Spurs? I mean,
that's the question.
I think if he wants to stay at Spurs, then I'm all for it. If whether this Lo Celso is the one we get when the season starts, but from how he's played, I would definitely keep him. And also, Harry, I know we've talked about Perisic a little bit already, but do you think he wants to stay? Because obviously he's not going to play as a fullback, and that means how much of a playing time is he going to get from Ange? I mean, do you think he'd want to stay with the little playing time he'll probably get?
I'm glad you asked this. I think if you're anyone in that position, that kind of left back, left wing back position, not being funny, but you're looking to be moving away from Tottenham, because you've got Sessegnon, Reguilon, Davis, Adoki. I probably missed one. There's loads in that position. I went through and worked it. There's loads of different players that can play in that position. If you're Reguilon, you think I come back in hope of first team under Ange in a back four, but I've hardly featured at all. in pre-season. Personally, my eyes, Reguilon will be ahead Perisic, and I think Perisic I'd rather Perisic, if he's going to stay, be the backup for Son rather than the backup for potentially Udogie, because like I said, in that position, Sessegnon's out injured, so forget him for now. But Davies, we know, is a natural left back. Udogie's clearly playing a lot of minutes there. We've still got Reguilon. So if Perisic is going to stay, I can only see it being the backup for Son. But we will see. If I'm Perisic, I'll be looking at, in that position, I'll be looking left wing. I'll be thinking Solomon as Son. We're looking down that side, like I said to you, thinking Sessegnon when he comes back from an injury, maybe, but be more worried about Udogie, got Reguilon. I don't really get minutes consistently here, so you'd be looking to move away. Do I want him to stay? No, because I think part of the rebuild will be cashing in on him, because that's where the club have got it right. We got him for free. So anything we get on him is making a profit, and extra, or you hope, towards the transfer budget or back into the club, whatever. It's extra money made. So I expect to see lots of players in that position go. Yeah. Probably Sessegnon and Perisic, but maybe Reguilon if he's not getting the minutes. But anyone in that position would be looking to make a move away.
Yeah, right. We'll read this comment from Barney. It says, squad depth is absolutely key. I talk to other people who are Spurs fans, and they all preach the fact you need that depth. No, that's very true. Very true. It's particularly in lots of different positions. Like, the problem is we have depth in terms of numbers in centre-backs. It's just the quality of them is nowhere near good enough.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Do you agree with that, Harry?
Absolutely, because the centre-backs that we have, we've actually got probably one or two, well, probably one more or the same amount that we should have, but it's the quality. You've got, when you have in Sanchez, Rodon, Tanganga, because if you think about it, when you talk about natural centre-backs, it's only really Romero and Rodon, because you could argue Dye's been converted into a centre-back. Davies has currently been converted into a centre-back. And I think Tanganga's best position is often right back, sometimes can play left back as well. So that's the worry when Sanchez goes, or call Sanchez, when he goes as well. So you've got the numbers, but all of a sudden you may not have the numbers when a couple of centre-backs go, you're short. Even I keep saying that we need two centre-backs, but as long as you get one with pure quality. So if Sanchez goes out the door, replaced with Van der Ven, it wouldn't be the end of the world, because you wouldn't see as much of Dyer, Rodon or Tanganga unless one of them gets injured. Davies could maybe slot in there, so it wouldn't be the end of the world. Two's ideal. Ideal world, we get two top centre-backs, Tapsoba, Van der Ven and Adebayo, or Tapsoba and Adebayo. But as long as we can get that one quality centre-back we spend a good amount of money on, that is very, very important. That we do that to partner Romero, because we see that if you're going to play with Porro and Udogie, you look how high Ben the back four plays, you can't leave just Romero there, because we know what Romero's like when he could have a 2v1 or a 3v1. He made the rash decision. He needs Van der Ven to support him. I think
calm presence next to him.
I'm really leaning towards Van der Ven. I think he'd be absolutely perfect for him. And so as long as he can be one quality centre-back, but if we're losing 2 or 3 centre-backs in this window, then we're going to need more than one. The squad depth is vital, Barney.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I think Van der Ven, from what we hear, obviously, you never know what to believe, really. But I reckon Van der Ven at this point is more likely to happen than Tapsoba. I think any hope we had of getting both of them is pretty much gone, if I'm honest. I reckon it'll be Van der Ven will come in and then toss an Adebayo. Don't want Longley back. I think he's a minimal upgrade on what we have, and I think we could go for such better options.
Yeah.
If you asked me, for example, say we got Van der Ven, Adebayo, two went out, or 3 went out. Would I have those 2 and get Longley in? Maybe, if it's for barely any money. But really, we could just get someone better, younger. Or I would just get those 2 and then get a better one in the future and have Adebayo as the third choice. Because we're one Romero injury at the moment from having Van der Ven and a terrible centre-back next to him. at the moment as it stands, if we even get Van de Ven at this rate. So yeah, it is a worry, I'll be honest. Like when the transfer window started, I hoped we would have had at least one centre-back in by now, ideally two. Like, I'm not going to lie, it does put a bit of a sort of, what's the word? It puts a sort of dampening on the excitement of, and because you know that if we have these defenders starting the season, we're going to get pulled apart in a lot of games and going to finish 9th, 10th.
Yeah.
Particularly if Kane went and we didn't get top centre backs, we would finish bottom half. I'm sure of it. I'm sure we would. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. Interesting top need Perisic. I would argue with that. I'd argue with that. I think you've got lots of players. I mean, Perisic brings a lot experience, but he's not going to have a massive impact on the team next season. Really, look at places. I can't see that. But Ben, I'm glad you brought that up. If we are going to get two centre backs, I'm thinking Van de Ven and Tosin Adebayo from Fulham. I think them two for me. I think that's realistic. It's affordable. It works. Van de Ven will be the one, injury free. In obviously normal Premier League circumstances, big games, the Van de Ven and Romero, and probably Adebayo off the bench. And then you can, when you bring two centre backs in, you can offload two or maybe even three. You can offload. For me, you offload Sanchez, you offload Tanganga, and you probably offload Roden as well. Dyer is the squad player to come in if you get one, maybe two injuries, suspensions, which is likely with Herrero. So you can afford to do that. Davis can step in as well. So although it's not ideal, I'd love to sit here and go, we have 3 or 4 quality centre-backs, just fill in when Romero gets suspended. But if it means Dyer has to fill in, Davis has to come into centre-back, let's be honest, it's going to happen. When you get two centre-backs injured or suspended, it only happens maximum once or twice a season, so I don't think it's anything to worry about. If you bring just one centre-back in, of course it's a problem. But even if that second centre-back, I'm not a massive fan of Lenglet, I agree with you on that. If it is Lenglet or Tosin, just as long as you bring that one quality centre-back in to partner Romero, and we have reasonable options to turn to, and that reasonable option, not being funny, is more than Dyer. So if we had someone like Lenglet or Adebayo in front of, while you relate to this, in front of Dyer, then I feel okay. So easily the centre-back issue can be addressed, but the club are making it take too long.
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, Barney here said, I agree with you, Harry. Tosin will end up probably at Spurs. I mean, I do rate Adebayo. I have watched quite a lot of Fulham in the past couple of years, and I do think he is a good player. Like, he's not that really top caliber of centre back.
Improves our defence,
and he's at his current level. Definitely, he's definitely better than what we have now. Other than Romero, he would definitely slot in as our second choice centre back. So I'm all for him coming in as another option. But
and being honest with you,
Harry,
Ben,
what did you think of Solomon? Obviously, gone.
Sorry, last thing. Being honest with you, it wouldn't be the end of the world if he was to partner next to Romero. Just as long as you have that option to turn to. I rate him. Obviously, in an ideal world, he's the backup. He sits on the bench most of the season, gets running in cup competitions, but he's a top player. And Fulham won't want to lose him. Barney can relate to this. He's a very key player for Fulham. And look how well Fulham done last season.
No, definitely. What did you think, Harry, of Solomon in that second half? Obviously not playing, another Fulham link, obviously not playing in his favoured position on the left wing, but he seemed to do pretty well as a sort of more of a provider role on that right wing. Obviously was involved with the goals as well. I thought he looked quite bright, personally.
Yeah, I know, absolutely agree with you. And listen, I'm all for criticising the club when necessary. I do it myself, as you know. I sometimes go on the rant. I'll criticise the club, and I think often it's justified. But also, we need to give the praise and go. It's on a free. It's clever business. a player that improves our squad.
Good deal.
It's a good deal. We could have easily gone out there and spend, like, I love Elise, and I think that 25 million is an excellent price for him, but we're still saying 25 million by going with Solomon. We know that Solomon's not a world beater and won't be in our team all the time. I think ideally he's the backup for Son. Son goes, and I think Solomon maybe long-term replacement for Son. That could work out. Solomon's quite flexible. Barney can relate to this where he plays, and when he did play for Fulham, he was great. There's definitely a player in there, young, again, squad depth. People say, we're signing squad players on a free. People don't understand how important that is. It helps us when we're not spending any money on a good player to be able to afford other players or be able to simple things like not increasing the season ticket prices. It will help somehow. Solomon drastically improves minutes in cup competitions. And we'll give some competition. I can't stress enough how important it is we give players competition. I sat there last season and went, there's no one to give some competition because Danjuma's never given minutes. This is different with Solomon. He's a player in Manor Solomon. I really like what I saw today. I think he'll be a really key player next season. And Mr. Perisic fan in the chat will not like this, but I put him ahead of Perisic. If Perisic stays, for me, it goes Son, Solomon and Perisic. So he's third or fourth, whether he wants to play left back or left wing. So he does not stay for me.
Fair enough. Well, fair enough. Another comment from Barney here. He said he's been good for us, but I don't see him staying. I love him as he's performed well last season. Him, Tim Ream and Diop were great. Well, they were always defensively solid whenever I've watched them. So, that's definitely a big part of their game with him contributing to it. Another one from Barney. Solomon definitely has something in him. Great on the ball, great ones, and some great goals for us. Yeah, we've all seen those Sonny-esque goals that Solomon scored. I think it's 2 games in a row. If he can replicate that for us, then great player on our hands, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You there, Harry? All good. All right. I don't know if Harry's still there, but we'll talk about the man of the match from the game. Personally, difficult. I think you maybe have to go over Richarlison from how well he was in that second half. I mean, Maddison, if he'd scored a goal, I think Maddison would definitely been up there from how bright he was. Even without it, I think he's got to be up there from how bright he was. Bissouma was good, but it's probably got to be between Gio and if he's still here.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Let me know. Put your thumb up if you can. But I thought there was a lot of players that played well. Perfect. Richarlison for me gets the, when you score a hat trick, I don't think it's ever in question. But Maddison, I love the creativity. He deserved to score. Close to doing so, didn't do that. But my question for you, Ben, is who do you think didn't play well? I have a couple in mind, but I want to know if there's anyone you think didn't perform out there, or as well as the others who feel like
didn't play.
Maybe if it's far behind in terms of fitness level or ability.
I thought Davis was quite poor in the first half. That's not trying to scapegoat. I just don't think he was very good. I thought Kane was quite quiet. Obviously, it's a great penalty he scored, but I did think he was quite quiet.
Who was the first one you said? I missed it.
Other than that, in the first half, I thought everyone else played. It was Davis.
Okay.
I didn't think Davis was very good. I didn't think he was brilliant. But mainly that pass on that leading up to that first goal. In the second half, it's difficult. I thought Reguilon's cross to Solomon at the end was good, and he linked up with Perisic but there was still a couple moments that weren't great. It's difficult. I don't think anyone played particularly badly. I just think there were certain players that shone, if you know what I mean. Tanganga had a couple poor passes, but generally, I think everyone did pretty well, if I'm honest. What about you?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't think anyone was bad. Just the individual players stood out, like the Solomons, the Madisons, the Richarlisons. Kane was quiet up until the penalty. Maybe the current ongoing situation. I hate to bring it up, but that could be affecting him. And I notice he's finding things such as the lack of celebration with the goal. Maybe it's just pre-season. I don't know. I could be looking too deep into it, put it that way. But in terms of not playing well, generally against, you don't want to be conceding like that against any opposition because it's way too simple. But when in the grand scheme of things, this opposition not being funny up until a couple of weeks ago, hadn't heard of them, and they put 2 passes together and they score.
No.
Can Vicario do more and make himself a bigger presence? Probably. Can Davis do better with that pass? Absolutely. Can Porro do better at the back post? Absolutely. Can Romero and Davis kind of join together and stop that player getting in between? Absolutely. So anyone in that defence, I think, for that move alone could have done better. I hate to sit here and criticise Vicario because he's had 2 games, but I am worried. He played an Empoli side that conceded goals last season. He's young. We all know the speed and physicality of the English game up against the likes of Haaland. It concerns me if we don't improve the defence, but in his defence, I mean, it's the same with Lloris last season. You look in front of him, and that is why you concede goals, and you worry about these keepers. So you improve the defence. That makes our life easier for Vicario, and we concede less goals. Hopefully, I'm wrong. This is only based on how much I wanted David Raya and think we should have paid the 40 million for him. We've got Vicario now. We've got the goalkeeper. I think it's personally risky going with him as number 1, but we shall see. I mean, 2 games, Brentford and Man United, that were really tough.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think we've got a really tough start to the season, which could be quite an indicator of how it's going to go. With Vicario, 3 against West Ham. The 4 goals he's conceded, I think he's faced 5 shots at him in all these games. In the 2 games,
That's the worry.
And quite a few of them weren't very savable shots. Yeah, there's 2 ways of looking at it, I think you can think that's a worry, which obviously it is. How many of them he could have done much about?
Yeah.
It's difficult. I think it'd be easier to tell once the season really kicks off and we're maybe in games where we're having a lot more shots faced and less possession. I think that will be more telling as to what he's going to be like for us. But I don't think there's anything glaring, but he's not really had enough saves to make to see an amazing save for us to know. So if I'm honest, it's just a case of waiting and see. But we'll slightly move on from that, Harry. We'll finish off. We're talking about that Sonny interview yesterday. Obviously, me and my dad produced a video, and this interview came out about 10 minutes after that, which is how it goes sometimes. But what did you think? Obviously, he was talking about he didn't have should have said after he'd been performing poorly. I think potentially the club should have said, no, you've got to have it, from how much it was affecting him and from how much he said it caused him pain. Like he said, just passing, turning, running and everything caused him pain. I mean, really, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think the club maybe, obviously we don't know because the player, they can only go off what the player's saying. So it's difficult for us to criticise the medical team. No, you've got to have it. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, it is difficult because we don't know much about it. But if the club, if he's gone and asked to have that time off, to have that treatment, to have that surgery, and the club have refused it, then of course it's wrong. It's poor from the club. When you had Danjuma sitting on the bench as well, you had Danjuma. I know you had Lucas Moura, but Danjuma is the one for me. You go. He didn't get any minutes. He could have got minutes. So you could have saved someone pain. And there should have been a point, Ben, last season where we'd gone, whether it's maybe as early, I don't know, as early as the Newcastle game where we'd gone, look, there's just about something to play for. We're not really going to get anywhere. Now's the time to do it. You know, we're struggling with you. We're going to struggle without you as well. And go and let him have that treatment. You shouldn't put a player through pain when you've got someone sitting on the bench. I get it. If it's Harry Kane and Richarlison's out for whatever reason, I partly get it because he's so important. But the fact you had players sitting on the bench, you had Perisic sitting on the bench, you had Lucas sitting on the bench, and you had Danjuma who hardly got a kick the ball on the bench. It blows my mind if that's true, of course. But at the same time, we all know Sonny wouldn't lie because he just isn't a good liar. You can tell that. I love his honesty to come out and say, and he takes responsibility for that. But at the end of the day, nobody's going to perform if they're going through pain in life, in whatever situation, outside or in football. So it's just wrong if that happens. At the same time, maybe Son could have been more powerful and said, look, I'm not going to play. I'm going through pain. I like Son's resilience. I remember when I think he broke his arm or his elbow or something. I think it was against Aston Villa, but still put the ball in the back of the net. That's just Son all over. And he keeps going. He plays until the end, and you wouldn't have known it until the day after, until he said. I love the resilience. I say part of it could be Sonny. I think it is the resilience about him. But yeah, the interview was lovely. Son's a pleasure to listen to. Absolute pleasure. He's a breath of fresh air. The honesty, the smile, the humbleness. But poor average judgment by the club, by the looks of it.
Yeah. No, yeah, he's a class act. I don't think anyone has a bad word to say about Sonny off the pitch. Obviously, it just makes people like me feel a bit awkward for criticising him at times last season when we weren't aware for such a long time that he had this issue. But
myself as well.
Yeah, we'll see. Not anything you can do about that. But that's football, I guess. But yeah, right. Final point before we leave it with you. Supposedly that Joe Lewis has surrendered himself to the US. Obviously, there's reports last night with his corruption case. I mean, that's quite an awkward topic. Obviously, we don't want to make conclusive statements on an ongoing investigation.
Yeah.
But there's a report coming out saying it's not going to affect Spurs, which I thought was the case anyway, because it did come out that he... But obviously, that's some news regarding Spurs. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anything does happen. Obviously, it's not really going to do much to the club, but it's not the best PR for the club, is it?
It's not. I've got to be careful what I say here because I found a recent place I go where it's my own show, other people's show. Whatever I tend to say gets clipped, and I get shown months later about loads of different things. Obviously, it's an ongoing investigation as well. What I will say is it shouldn't affect Spurs, whether it means Joe Lewis has no power anymore, or there's reports that he can't do certain things because of it. I don't know. It won't affect. I don't think Levy's position. And I don't think it'll affect us on the pitch either. Obviously, it's to do with the club. I don't get it when people say it's not to do with the club, but he is a billionaire here. He is our owner at the end of the day, and there'll be that connection between him and Daniel Levy. Where does Daniel Levy go and ask to get his money? How do you do that? Do they allow him to spend his money? There's loads of questions that can be asked. It shouldn't affect us. But one thing's for sure, it looks like Joe Lewis is going to be spending more on his defence than our defence, which is definitely a worry.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you all for watching. Absolute delight, Harry, to have you on the show. Pleasure to have you on as always. Hopefully you'll be on again in the future. And just thank you for coming on. Where can people find you?
Firstly, apologies for my Wi-Fi. I think there's a delay and everything I say, but thank you for coming on, Ben. And what is your first show? That means a lot. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, and most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to Ben's channel. Brand new. I'm very glad to support it. I think it's fantastic, and I think you do very, very well. I love the content you do with your dad on your own. I think it's fantastic. I try and watch every video when I can. Where you can find me there on Twitter, HarryScarf22, and check out my channel, Scarfy Spurs Talk, for all the latest Spurs content, and also weekly live shows every Monday, 8 p.m. Just had one with Crackers and Last Word on Spurs, Holly Agrambar and Marlon from A View from the South Stand, so don't forget to check that out. You can watch on YouTube or listen on Spotify. Thank you. If you prefer to watch or listen, that was a very, very popular one. with nearly 400 views and listens. So that's massively appreciated. And this week's one, this week's one's with Luke from Park Lane Podcast. That'll be interesting because we love to hold each other to account. We're joined by Gareth Mack and also Travis, 2 regulars now, especially Travis on the channel. So thank you very much, Ben. Wish you all the luck with the channel. Massively appreciated. And once again, the Wi-Fi does not like me. Perhaps it's Joe Lewis hacked into my Wi-Fi.
No, I'm sure it'll be better next time you're on, Harry. And big up to everyone in the comments and everyone for listening. Right, Harry, do you want to join me? Channel outro. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Yeah.